and welcome to the Morrison Run, the podcast where we read and review everything by Grant Morrison. My name is Leon.
And my name is Santa. Ho ho ho.
And
It
I'm
was
Bertie,
actually me that
very little
it
elf.
was actually me the whole time. Angwin.
What?
But we know Santa, and I'm Bertie.
My name is Leon, but if you spell it backwards, it's Noel.
And if you spell my name backwards, it's
That's insignificant because I said what my name was because it's like Noel, like Christmas.
but there could have been a Christmas miracle where I found out my name backwards was like reindeer or something.
That's true, actually. What's your name backwards, Angwin?
No, I know what it is backwards, and I don't want to say.
Yeah. Okay. uh, okay, so Doom Patrol. We're back in it with Doom Patrol. Second arc, I would say, second major arc about the painting that swallows people. I wanted to maybe add an opportunity to say any thoughts about Doom Patrol in general or about the first arc that we didn't get to say last time, because last time was like a weirder episode where we weren't saying our opinions as much, I feel like. But so if you guys have anything to say on that front.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked it. I like Cliff
Me too.
and Jane, and I think the small girl is weird, but interesting.
I thought the book was weird but interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So today we're doing the second arc. So there's this guy, right? And he's called Mr. Nobody, but he's not even really a guy, and you can't even really see him. And he's drawn sort of like this weird little like half stick figure.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is like at the end of the issue before this arc, I think we see him, but he looks like, I think we see someone that's meant to be him, but he like looks really different. He's drawn like more like a real guy, but just like with his face fully in shadow. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you're seeing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's in the chair.
He is in the chair, and he talks about the Brotherhood of Evil, which I guess was an old thing in DC or the Doom Patrol. They reference that there's like an old Brotherhood of Evil. I don't know much about that, and it doesn't actually seem to have much relevance to this story here. Do you guys have anything to say today? Like, I'm a bit like.
I think it's cool that he's in the void.
You guys are
And
giving nothing. When Bertie was like, I think it was weird, but interesting. What?
No, I think it was. Well, I wanted to talk about romantic poetry, but I feel like we glossed over that.
Well, it's not that. That kind of comes up more like through it, kind of.
That's
I
fine.
guess later on.
So
But
I think it's cool how in the void I don't really know what's going on, but he's like sitting there for a long. Why are you making that face? He's sitting there for a long time, and then he sees a thing. I actually really like this bit. He sees this little speck, and he doesn't know if the speck's like a small thing that's really close or a big thing that's really far away. And he gets scared that it's a big thing that's really far away. It's coming to eat him or something, and then he like ceases to exist because of his fear, which
Yes,
I didn't
so
really
the
get. That was
the
cool.
context is that he's given some serum that I think makes his perception of time feel like billions of years when it's only
Hmm.
been what 3 days. So
Hmm.
he's seeing this dot and he thinks it's like he's had like billion years to ponder on what it could be, right?
Hmm.
Which would really suck. Like I would hate that.
It'd be quite
What about you?
interesting though.
I think it would be weird, but maybe it just.
I think it is. trying not to say interesting. It's
Haunting.
no. I'm trying to talk about a specific thing. I think it's a good detail that throughout this whole story we see his character, and he's got a mustache, and like the rest of him is clean shaven, and he doesn't grow any hair, so we know that like no time has really passed. That's a nice little signifier of that there. I think it's also interesting that we, in the rest of this, we see him as Mr. Nobody as like this such like ethereal kind of figure, a somewhat like androgynous character as well, in the vein of like a lot of the similar characters in this Grant Morrison Doom Patrol. But we see him, here before that transformation, and he looks like such a regular guy. And I feel like a lot of the other characters like that we saw, like Red Jack and things like that, they're presented a bit more mysteriously, where we like don't know where they came from and like how real are they. But we know this guy's backstory, and we know he was a real guy. Yeah.
Can we get a rundown of all of the members of the Brotherhood of Evil? So there's Frenzy, who's like this whirlwind guy, I think.
He looks a bit like the Mad Hatter. He's got like a top hat and like a kind of crazy cloak with a big bow tie and a collar. He's also got bicycle wheels on his back.
Yeah, it's just a fun creative detail.
Yeah.
There's this Japanese lady who's really scared of dirt, and then she goes in this like green costume. My problem, this was one of my main gripes, is this girl and Frenzy have quite similar silhouettes, which made me feel like the designs, not that they were redundant, there was a lot of like mental crossover for me. So I wasn't, especially because I quite liked Frenzy, I didn't really have the space to like another character that just like looked the exact same as him.
I see what you mean. They both have this kind of, they're both drawn with these cloaks that have a sort of scattered design on them, and also the cloaks are like, they're not really rendered with shading. They both kind of have they both lack that, which makes them look a little bit out of touch with like the reality of the world. But yeah, it's like a specific look that they both share there. She's specifically, it's like a lime green with all these question marks on it on her cloak, which looks very Riddler. So that reminded me of that. So also she looks like Riddler and she looks like Frenzy. So like, but yeah, in it her powers, like she's got like all the powers, but like once you think of the power, she doesn't have it anymore. So it's like every fight with her, it's like the other person, once they realize it, they're just like trying to rack through and think of every power that exists, and then she stops having them. But then that means she always has to get them with like some weird other thing. Like I think later in the story, she beats, or at least quickly beats one of the characters. Yeah, she beats Negative Man with the power to create like unbreakable escape-proof glass jars, which is obviously a power that you'd never think of. So
why wouldn't you just think of her power though? That's me locked in.
That's a good point.
Grant Morrison, make me one of your co-writers, bro.
So continuing with the Brotherhood of Evil, there's also Sleepwalk, who she's got powers. I think, does she just have like super strength or what, and like or whatever? But they only work when she's sleeping.
Mm.
So she's like in these fights, and then she's always asleep. And then there's the fog, who's like he can turn into a fog, and he like sort of like surrounds people and kind of crushes them in his fog, and like takes them into his fog. I think it's also like he's got a bit of brain fog. There's clearly some like people in his head. He's got like
Yeah.
the speech bubbles have like these brackets which almost read like Tourette's, but then you realize that the Tourette's are like talking to him and each other.
Mhm.
So there's something going on there. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of stuff like that between this and then like Crazy Jane literally has DID, and then Rebus is like three people combined into one. Uh, so it's interesting that we're seeing a lot of that.
Mhm. A fun character moment that I like is between Cliff and Jane, where Cliff asks Jane to like name all the the alters in her brain, in their brain, and then Cliff goes through like 100, and he's like, "I'm getting tired. I can't be doing this anymore." I think it just shows like the extent to one, like Jane's experience, but also like I don't know, Cliff's interest in trying to understand his friends. I think it's cool, because like aside from his design, Cliff could be a pretty one-note character, but he ends up being sort of the like the face and the glue that sort of holds the Doom Patrol together at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like it feels like in spite of his physical disabilities, um, he's still fully able to sort of be the emotional heart of the team.
Yeah. He reminds me a bit of the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
I don't know if
exactly.
he's ever described as being like losing his senses as this rock monster, but it's a similar kind of dynamic I think he has with the family.
Hmm.
I think we talked last time about the kind of connection between the Fantastic Four and the Doom Patrol and the X-Men, uh, the kind of legacy there. So I'm not going to repeat that,
Yeah.
but yeah, it makes sense that those kind of threads would link through. There's a moment early on where Rebus and Cliff just like chat. I actually think it's might be. I think it's in the second issue of this arc. But they're kind of I just like this moment of them. I feel like Cliff is starting to become friends with Rebus as Rebus rather than just like the memory of Larry. Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but also starting to kind of reckon with that, and Rebus is coming to terms with like being three people combining into one, and like they're talking about there's a sort of slow progression uh, of them combining.
I think there's a fun contrast between Rebus and Cliff, where Cliff clearly sort of resents his new body, and doesn't necessarily fully identify with it, while Rebus takes great pride in their new form. They're like,
Yeah.
I am both man and woman. I have the perfect body, the perfect balance. I'm like that. I think that there's like a just sort of like a very clear um difference here that Cliff probably just can't fully relate to. Which probably also makes it more difficult for Cliff to relate to Rebus, because it's just like it's just like it's sort of his friend, but like not his friend in a weird way.
Yeah. Um, Now that we're already talking about this next issue, Angwin, do you want to talk about the romantic poetry elements?
So there's this guy. I don't actually remember his name, but he's a philosopher, and apparently he's walking with Coleridge. I forget what Coleridge's first name is. Probably just John, right? Knowing all these guys.
These guys.
Um, but yeah, and Coleridge was famously one of the most famous romantic poets of all time. Probably a lot of people say like the godfather of romantic poetry, sort of like the main guy. Um, and it definitely like it. Romantic poetry is very Doom Patrol-y. They deal with a lot of like they would always talk about like limbic states, like the space between being awake and being asleep. You know when you've been up like on a crazy Fortnite session for like all night, and you're not really awake, you're not really
Yeah.
asleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like that's like what they were talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
they were sort yeah they were always talking about like psychedelics and stuff, which doesn't link to Doom Patrol specifically, but that sort of like um human but very different experience sort of does link to Doom Patrol in an interesting way. I also think that they try to tie it in with the Brotherhood of Evil, who are sort of become this like absurdist comedy like troupe, like
Yeah.
evil troupe,
Well,
right?
they renamed
Where
themselves to
it's like
the Brotherhood of Dada, so they're kind of defining themselves by like absurdism
yeah,
as an ideology.
it's like if the Looney Tunes decided to work with Doctor Doom.
Mm, Doctor Dooney Tunes.
Exactly. And I just think it's cool. I mean, obviously, Grant Morrison never really shies away from showing their um, creative influences and interests and stuff. But I just thought it was like a fun way to start this issue. Sort of just very much be explicit about the sort of influences for this arc.
I think I think this story specifically echoes a story I think I've mentioned on the podcast before about Grant Morrison has talked about an experience they had like going up a mountain and uh, having some kind of experience with some kind of like fifth dimensional entity or however they describe it, some kind of magical experience. And there's a similar thing going on here. But that kind of stuff informs all of Grant Morrison's work.
Yeah. I mean, I think Animal Man literally went up a mountain after
Yeah,
taking some sort of psychedelic. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, with with Bawana Beast before he became like Liberation Beast.
I was thinking of the bit where he's with that scientist guy and then he does the I can see you and he like sees through the dimensions and sees us.
Is that you might be right. Is that with a scientist? Honestly, yeah, fairs, fairs. On the subject, the Animal Man is in this arc.
He does pop up.
Yeah.
So the Doom Patrol gets stuck in this painting. We sort of should establish the conflict here. There's this painting in Paris, which is actually a remake of a painting that was destroyed, and it like eats stuff. Like stuff gets absorbed into it, and then the whole city of Paris gets absorbed into this painting. And then the Dada people, they're inside and they're having a crazy time, and the Doom Patrol go in, and then before they do, Animal Man and Buster, is it Buster Gold?
Booster
Booster
Gold.
Gold.
Booster Gold are there, and Booster Gold's like, what the heck are these guys doing? These guys are crazy. And Animal Man doesn't really say anything. Did Doom Patrol come out after Animal Man?
I-
Were they kind of at the same time, sort of
I think
overlapping?
I think they were kind of coming out at the same time. I
Yeah.
yeah, it's difficult to know because I think the Animal Man series started in 1988, but and the Doom Patrol series started in 1987, but but Grant Morrison didn't take over until 1989. So Doom Patrol started after Animal Man had started, but then they were running at the same time, I think.
So, do you think Grant Morrison was writing Animal Man at this time?
Probably, yeah.
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 It started Doom Patrol, yeah.
So it's probably so I guess Grant Morrison probably just like didn't want Animal Man like, insulting their other work, because Booster Gold's being pretty rude about the Doom Patrol here. Animal Man's just like, what the heck is going on? Let's call Superman. Then Superman shows up.
Yeah. A lot of cameos.
But yeah, no, a lot of cameos.
Before that just happens, there's the bit where they kind of absorb Paris into the painting. It's just this bit where it's the Brotherhood of Dada and they're standing around the Eiffel Tower, and the just the imagery of the Brotherhood of Dada and the tower, it reminded me of Kill Your Boyfriend, because the Brotherhood of Dada are quite similar to the art terrorists from Kill Your Boyfriend, and then Eiffel Tower kind of being the centerpiece, like how Blackpool Tower is used in Kill Your Boyfriend as well.
I liked seeing all the cameos in this kind of absurdist storyline. Like just like Martian Manhunter and Superman crowding round like a deserted Paris looking into this painting is kind of quite a unique imagery to see in
Uh,
with the
and,
Justice League.
and I think it's cool because they can't do anything.
Yeah,
Like they don't, they don't, they can't and don't do anything to help, um, because they're just kind of looking at it like, what can we do with this? And then, meanwhile, Doom Patrol are kind of sorting everything out on the inside. And I think it kind of reinforces that idea that, like, hey, sometimes you need Superman, sometimes you need the Justice League, but some problems require the Doom Patrol, and they're problems like this.
yeah.
So I like how it reinforces that idea.
And I think because they're not that well known, there's a conversation between Booster Gold and Blue Beetle about like, are these guys on our team or what? Like they just kind of
Yeah.
let them be because they don't know. So, but yeah, they're treated as a bit weird by the heroes, but I like that.
There's a page where um we see loads of the Justice League looking at the painting, and it's when Superman shows up, and he's just like kind of asking what's been going on. But on that page, for some reason, Blue Beetle is looking at us. I don't I don't know why that doesn't have any uh like there's no repercussions for that. I just found it quite. I just noticed it in the panel because he's right at the front as well. I feel like he was maybe meant to be talking to Martian Manhunter, but his eyes are definitely looking towards us instead. So, you'd think if anyone was doing that, it would be Animal Man or something. But it's Blue Beetle for some reason. Ted Cord. This is a Ted Cord Blue Beetle. It's back in the day, back in the 80s. JLI, JLE era. They're in this painting, and the painting has many layers because it's a painting of a painting of the painting forever. You know what I mean?
Like a mirror on a mirror.
Exactly. So they go in the painting, but then like there's like loads of layers to it, and each one has a different style. So they go to like impressionist land and like futurist land and stuff, and that provides a lot of really cool visuals. But the oh yeah, and there's a bit where Reba says, this what is this place? It looks real enough, but it has no heart. We're inside a photorealist painting. What else can we expect? So that's a diss on photorealism right there. It looks good, but it has no heart.
What the heck? As artists, what do you guys think of that?
I hey, maybe I unfortunately kind of agree. I'd like not to. I'm sure there's like some like great photorealistic stuff that I haven't seen, but like I feel like especially on modern photorealism lacks I feel like it does lack a bit of heart. I view that differently to stuff like Renaissance paintings, which looked photorealistic, but they had like lighting and situations that were uh, sort of
Forward depicting events from the Bible which weren't actually
yeah, but
drawn from their viewpoint.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, true. But like I just even mean like a lot of classical paintings use lighting in this like grand way that it doesn't feel the same to me.
Yeah, well, like
I'm just spitballing.
while it's not my favorite, I do respect it, but also want to acknowledge there are people who see it as like a higher form of art that kind of invalidates
Mm.
anything that isn't doing that, and I think that's why there's discussion around it because I don't agree with that, obviously. So
I like how each character gets flung into like a different type of art or different sort of aesthetic, which initially I thought was meant to be like the preferred aesthetic or like to each character, like the sort of type of art that they liked. But I thought that maybe it was more meant to be representative of the character. Like Cliff gets put into this sort of like industrial, um, I don't know, looking place, quite Victorian, and Jane gets put into an incredibly abstract with just like big shapes in a void um painting. They all get their own little painting, which is cool. I forget Rebus's, but yeah, I thought that was pretty fun. It seemed like maybe Grant had like a deal with the artists. It was like, I'm gonna write the story so you guys can just draw crazy stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, how did they resolve the painting stuff again?
So
So
it's like
yeah.
So, like, the Brotherhood of Dada realized it's actually really fun. So, this isn't the last issue, which was my favorite, where it's told sort of in like a voiceover. It's a letter of Frenzy writing a letter to his mother, right? Talking about like how they kind of resolve the issue. Where in the issue previously, this fifth horseman of the apocalypse from Jane's mind comes out, and it's like extinction, and they need to defeat extinction. And what ends up happening is that like the Doom Patrol and the Brotherhood of Evil, the Brotherhood of Dada, don't actually end up fighting. The Brotherhood of Dada realize that they're a bigger fish to fry, and that they need to release the Doom Patrol, and they need to just like stop fighting them, so they can fight the Extinction Horse guy. And then what ends up happening is that the Brotherhood of Dada get trapped in the painting, but that's actually like the best place for them
Right,
to be.
yeah, yeah.
And they're chilling there.
Yeah.
Fre-
It's tragic but also cute.
yeah, Frenzy's saying is in his letter, he's like, "I'm. This is like pretty sick. Like, I'm the king of
Yeah.
the whole city. Like,
So it's like a letter to his mum, right?
yeah."
Or something.
But
And he's saying, like, I don't know.
yeah.
Sorry, sorry, you're gonna
Well,
say.
it's a letter to his mum, but she's not gonna see it because he's trapped in
Yeah, which is
this
why it said.
place. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But it's nice. It's nice because he's having a good life and he seems but like he is trapped if you know what I'm saying. But it's fun.
Yeah,
I'm sure
but
maybe there's a metaphor of like being able to find like yourself even if you're in a bit of a bad place. Like you're not like better, but everything's pretty okay.
do you think there's something about um, you know, they're into this kind of idea of absurdism, and that's where they thrive. But it disconnects them from reality because that's not where everyone else really is. Like
yeah,
in terms of seeing the world. So, I mean, in a way, I just said what literally happens in the story, but I'm kind of making it
Yeah, I
vague
liked it.
to be how like that could apply to the real world a little bit more. Um,
yeah. I mean, they live in that absurdist world at the end, right? He's like, what's that thing that he's feeding birds? But it's like, I don't know, he's feeding them something, and then they transform into birds or whatever. Like, he's got this abstract day-to-day routine that he does
yeah,
in his description of this world at the end.
but the way they kind of solve it is uh, Jane uh, as I think it's as Flit, one of her alters, is able to like take over the fifth horseman's heart and then kind of pilot it um, out of the painting, where in the real world it just appears um, as a like a rocking horse, and
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
and but Jane's trapped in there for right now. Jane's gone,
No,
so
I thought she was injured.
well she's not. We don't see her from the end, right? Like
No, I
once
thought Superman was like holding her. So she's
Oh
like
yeah,
dead.
you're so right. You're so right. Yeah,
I
he's
thought
holding
I
her.
thought that yeah.
You're so right. I
It's like
forgot about that.
it's like the flipping the rocking horse is like a joke, and then Jane's dead, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah, their way of saving the day to support her is Mr. Nobody says, "I know we all have superpowered energy because it's sort of like fueled by energy is the idea."
Hmm.
Um, he's like, "We all have superpowered energy. Why don't we join hands and send it to her? Let's have a groovy lovin'." And then, and then he says, after some other stuff, "It's so embarrassing. It has to work." Um, Grant Morrison does this sometimes where there'll be a plot point like that where you go, I don't know why, but this feels like it makes sense. Like somehow the story has lined up to where this feels like the right thing that can happen here. Where in any other story, this would not work at all. And they do it. They just hold hands and use their sort of love to to support Jane and save the day. As the horse is sort of like bursting through, there's like a collage of like newspaper clippings. One of them says Dada, one of them says Funk and Morrissey, so that's like referencing like contemporary culture of the time. It just really supports the sort of the way I feel like Doom Patrol in general is like this real collage of like culture and pop culture references and like artistic references and everything. So we're seeing more of that here.
We sort of jumped around, but generally, I think this art is like a really fun continuation because initially we just sort of got the introduction of like all the main characters, right? Here, and in fairness, what I do like is that like this arc does feel like it happened right after the one that we just read, right? They're even referencing it by name, like, oh yeah, Jane is tired from doing that thing in the big castle or whatever, right? And here they get like a very Doom Patrol-y issue, and it gets solved in a very Doom Patrol-y way. And I really like the ending with Frenzy and the letter to his mum. I think it's really cute, if tragic.
I think a lot of these Doom Patrol stories, in a way, they feel similar because they always involve like some kind of other reality and some kind of unknowable character. But I don't think it ever feels repetitive. Like they all have like so many of their own complexities and own specificities that make them work. And I think that I think this is good as this continues the hot streak that Doom Patrol's already been on.
Yeah, I've read maybe like a third of the Invisibles, and that it reads kind of similar. It's got similar inspirations, the surrealism and stuff, but a very different cast of characters that does really differentiate them a lot. But I guess the same sort of writing style. Like this doesn't feel like Animal Man, but
Yeah.
quite distinctly Grant Morrison in that Invisibles way, which came out after this. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I mentioned Kill Your Boyfriend earlier as well. That also came out after this, but it's like so many of Grant Morrison's stuff, deals with these similar things. I feel like that's what we do on this podcast so much is like find these connections and kind of say we're going, oh, this is like that other thing from that other comic that Grant Morrison also did, and that just is what happens when you're a writer. Like you reuse the same stuff, but a good writer like Grant Morrison makes it interesting every time, and in a new and different and exciting way.
Agreed.
If we're ready to wrap up,
how interesting would you say it is on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, in terms of how interesting it is, I feel like it has to be a 10.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But how interesting do you think it is?
10?
Seeing as you asked.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting.
I also thought it was very interesting. You guys should give this a read. It's been very interesting.
Bruh. What are you waiting for? Christmas?
Well, with that, have a Merry Christmas. And, follow us on Instagram and whatever. Leave a comment or a review. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope all your tidings are jolly.
Jingle bells, Batman smelt, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, and the Joker got away.